Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Sunday went after members of her own party for deciding to skip town to go on vacation after allowing the eviction moratorium to end. In fact, here she is on CNN's Sunday Morning. Take a look.
Well, I think there's a couple of issues here. First of all, you are absolutely correct in that the House and House leadership had the opportunity to vote to extend the moratorium. And there were many, and there was frankly a handful of conservative Democrats in the House that threatened to get on planes rather than hold this vote. And we have to really just call a spade a spade. We cannot, in good faith, blame the Republican Party when House Democrats have a majority.
All right, so 100%. What she's saying is, yeah, it's a given that Republicans are going to be against anything that helps regular Americans, of course. And yeah, you can talk about that, how the Republicans are terrible, horrible, they're garbage, shit, et cetera, right? And I do. We talk about this a lot. However, the Democrats use that as cover. You see, the Democrats, it's because this has worked for so long, they default on, well, obviously, if we don't do something that we promise for our campaign, it's 100% the Republicans' fault. Well, no. You have 2/3 of the government control. You've got Congress, you've got the executive branch. Now, I understand, 50-50 in the Senate and all that. Sure, yeah, I get that, which you would need to overcome a Republican filibuster. But of course, the reason that they can't overcome a filibuster is because they can't get rid of the filibuster. Why? Well, it's not because of Republicans. It's because of their own members, like Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin and others that are like, no, under any circumstances, we are not going to get rid of the filibuster. We're going to make sure that nothing gets done. Of course. But again, the reason that they see it as Republicans, it's Republicans' fault. It's because they don't want to do it in the first place. Nonetheless, Nancy Pelosi is going to once again go, oh, but Republicans. She said in a bunch of tweets on Saturday. She said that she had led a relentless campaign to extend the CDC eviction moratorium, only to be thwarted by the GOP. In an act of pure cruelty, Republicans blocked this measure, leaving children and families out in the streets. Well, yeah, of course Republicans blocked the measure. That's what Republicans do. You expect that. We all know. But look, here's the thing about this. When you get into the details, it's actually kind of worse than just, Republicans block it, right? Nancy Pelosi had this vote by unanimous consent. So what that means, that procedure means, is that just one Republican could say, no, I object, and destroy the extension. That's it. Gone. And of course, when that failed, Democratic leadership decided to adjourn the chamber for a 7-week vacation instead of holding a full House vote. Let's go on vacation. Why not? We work hard. No, you don't. You haven't really done a whole lot. I mean, comparatively, right, for the American people, you haven't done a whole lot. Not to deserve a 7-week recess. Imagine if you and I could get a 7-week paid recess like twice a year. That would be amazing. Amazing. But no, apparently they deserve that while getting paid $174,000 a year plus whatever they can get from cushy, corporate jobs like Joe Manchin or his shares from a company which allows him to make like double his salary. But no, they get a vacation and you don't. She also refused to say that if she would reconvene the chamber for a vote on extending that moratorium. And so 100%, yeah, the House dropped the ball. But it gets better. Nancy Pelosi is now blaming the CDC for not extending the moratorium. She tweeted, the CDC has the power to extend the eviction moratorium. As they double down on masks, why wouldn't they extend the moratorium in light of the Delta variant? It is a moral imperative to keep people from being put out in the street, which also contributes to the public health emergency. Oh, okay. So now it's the CDC. Right. Now the CDC, yes, they could. But there's an issue with that. The Supreme Court. I still think they should. I still think there should be an executive. Whatever tools you have, you should have used them for this. Oh no, got to keep the powder dry. Can't do anything like that. Nope, can't use up our tools to go and actually do something about this. No. What this is, this is literally the Spider-Man meme where everybody's pointing at each other. While 7 million people get evicted. I mean, that's what it's like. Nobody even knew or realized that this was going to happen. Nobody was paying attention to the imminent housing apocalypse that was going to come until, oops, last day. Oh, maybe we should do something. Oop. Oh no. And then they do nothing, of course. And now they're just pointing at each other saying, it's your fault. Your fault while I'm going on vacation. And then some people left for vacation early. But here, I've got one more AOC video.
Now, there is something to be said for the fact that this court order came down on the White House a month ago, and the White House waited until the day before the House adjourned to release a statement asking on Congress to extend the moratorium. This came after weeks. I sit on the Financial Services Committee, which has jurisdiction over housing. We had, the housing secretary there asking about the administration's stance. We asked the Biden administration about their stance, and they were not being really forthright about that advocacy and that request until the day before the House adjourned. And so the House was put into I believe, a needlessly difficult situation. And it's not just me saying that. Financial Services Chairwoman Maxine Waters has made that very clear as well. And so there's a couple of contributing factors here. We have governors who are also not getting this emergency rental assistance out in time, which is forcing this extension, what we would like, an extension of the moratorium. The fact of the matter is that the problem is here. The House should reconvene and call this vote and extend the moratorium.
Yes. Well, look, I agree with her, of course. So now what's interesting is talking about the rental assistance. So I talked about this the other day. Up until, I think it was the end of June, the beginning of July, about $3 billion, only $3 billion of the $25 billion first tranche of rental assistance has gone out. That's it. Just $3 billion. Now, that's a lot of money, of course, but again, you have people, with billions of dollars of back rent that need to get paid. Millions of people, right? And so now people have been waiting for that rental assistance for literally months and haven't received it. And as a result, well, they couldn't pay their rent. They couldn't pay their back rent. Even if they were able to go back to work to get a job, after, 6-7 months of not being able to pay the rent because they didn't have their work because of the pandemic, well, you still got to pay that back rent. And if you don't, you're going to get evicted. And that's what's happening right now. They're getting evicted. The landlords don't care. And let's be honest, most landlords are not who you think of, like the mom and pop, spare. Oh, we got a spare house. We're going to rent it out to people that are in need. People, we're going to make a little bit of extra money, but don't worry. Bob here is going to be there to fix your sink anytime you get a clog. It'll be all right. No, these are big corporations. These are like slumlord Jared Kushner's. Okay. And that's the problem. These are big corporations that have been buying up, by the way, a lot of spare open homes. They've been buying up these homes. They've been driving up home prices, and they've been turning people into renters. And I know spare house, it's also one of those things where if you've got a spare house, well, that is a certain level of privilege that you have. You know what I'm saying? And so that makes me realize it's really hard to feel sympathy for that. They're not losing their homes. The federal government has really failed the renters during this pandemic. And so, what can they do? And again, a lot of people don't realize that money has not been released. They go, What are you talking about? We gave these people, so much money to sit home on their ass. Why couldn't they pay their rent? For one, the unemployment benefits didn't actually amount to more than minimum wage, okay? Or I should say living wage, actually. With everything put together and all the benefits, plus you had three, if you're lucky enough to get it, stimulus checks. But remember, there's nowhere in this country, no state in the union where you can actually be able to afford an apartment on a minimum wage salary, on minimum wage. That's a sad fact in America. The rent is too damn high. Mr. Jimmy McMillan, going back to that guy, he was right. The rent is too damn high, and it still is. And now, with the limited support that the American people have actually gotten, and the ineffectiveness of local, governorships and states and cities to actually, send that money out to the people who need it, this is why we're having this housing apocalypse. It's a disaster all around. And now, what are we going to do for the 7 million people that are going homeless as we speak, unhoused? They're going to end up sleeping in the streets, in the tents. They're going to fill up the jails. They're going to actually end up costing billions more in enforcement. This is an absolute disaster. And yet Congress decides they just want to point fingers at each other while going on vacation. It's a total shit show. Now, I want to give credit here to Cori Bush for literally camping out on the steps of the Capitol for the last few days. And for AOC, of course, for calling out the corporate Democrats and talking about it. And basically, she was referring to Pelosi when they said, well, it's not the Republicans' fault. It's not just the Republicans. It's the corporate Democrats, too. Joe Manchin, the people that won't get rid of the filibuster and won't bring this up, like Pelosi in the House, to try to, expand this moratorium or extend it. And to Joe Biden, of course. They all, with the exception of a few progressives and others, have just said, fuck poor people. And that's what we're running on today. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.